So we're really happy to have Madison here today from Phoebe, and she drove from Tifton to talk to us about resumes and job interviewing and that kind of thing. So y'all ask her some questions later if you want to, but thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Okay, hey everybody, my name's Madison. So I'm happy to be here today to give some career coaching advice and things like that. So thanks for being here. Typically when I do this with my boss, we're networking with nursing students, but I completely redid the presentation. So this is the first time doing this one. Because with nurses, we just want to make sure you can keep someone alive, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you have a registered nursing degree. But I know all of y'all are business students, right? Are y'all all seniors?
Mostly accounting students.
Okay, accounting. Wow. Okay. So I took accounting 1. So yeah. Anyway, but just a little bit, I want to tell y'all a little bit about me as to why I'm qualified to tell y'all about resumes and cover letters. So I graduated during the pandemic with my master's, and I had to do a ton of cover letters, resume, things of that nature. Before I was at UGA, I was at ABAC and I worked in admissions. So I've seen tons of applications, I've read scholarship essays, I have done all of that. And then just being in the 1 year I've been at Phoebe, I have definitely seen my fair share of resumes. And you do want your resume to look good to where within a minute or two, I can glance and determine, can I move you to the next round? So I have done this a lot for myself, just in my personal life, for friends, and also professionally. So I just wanted to share that. So I have some memes and TikToks for y'all, because got to make this interesting, talk our language, right? So first things first, the job search. So how many of y'all know where y'all are going after graduation? How many of y'all are looking? Everyone's looking, right? Okay, so definitely use things like LinkedIn. And your teacher told me that y'all have started y'all's LinkedIns, right? Or y'all are creating them. I definitely recommend being an all-star profile on LinkedIn, which means filling out all the categories, doing the summary, have your friends, have your professors kind of endorse you for different skills. And definitely, if you're interested in a company, not only go to job boards, go directly to the source, go to that website and see what their career page says. And also, there is a lot to be said about sometimes it is who you know. So definitely let your network, professional, personal network know that you're looking for a job. And then also set realistic expectations as a new grad. So I have to say, I probably applied for some things that they wanted 5-6 years plus of experience, and I was kind of a new grad coming out of college. So just be kind of realistic with looking for those entry-level positions. Okay. So that being said, I'm glad to be up here talking to all of you about resumes and cover letters, but I do want to say this. There's no right or wrong way to do a resume, so I don't want to confuse students, because if your career center tells you to do it a certain way, or a professor tells you to do a certain way for a class, you need to do it that way. But I think there's just preferences and also just some principles that you can take no matter what to help it be the best that it can be, but there's truly no right or wrong way to do a resume. Definitely, you just want it clear and concise. And I also suggest for someone coming out of college that your resume be 1 page. So I have looked at so many resumes at Phoebe that are 2 or 3 pages, and that is way too long. I say this as nice as possible. You haven't done enough to have more than a 1-page resume, okay, typically. Now, talk to me after, 10 years or so, and that's more of a CV, but definitely try to format it to be 1 page. That's what I was taught at UGA. That's what I would recommend, especially for business students. And then cover letters, I would recommend 3 paragraphs, if that. And then I always get asked the question, do you put your GPA on your resume? Do you not? I say, once again, it's preference. If it's a good GPA, I would put it. But then maybe after you've had your first or second job, that can be something that's deleted. And then also for awards. I have so many people who put awards on their resume. Once again, totally up to you. But I will say, if I don't know what the award is for, I have nothing to measure it by. So I won an award at ABAC, and it was for associate degree candidates based on academics and extracurriculars. But only people who are from ABAC would know what that award means. So I would either not put the award or kind of put a little bullet as to why you were selected. You just want to clarify that. So I have a few TikToks for us to watch, so it's not just me up here talking. So this is going to be about resumes. Okay. Click on it.
This is a resume that I'm interviewed at all. Numbers at the top of that.
Okay, so now I gotta go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, that one, the main goal of that one is I don't really like objective lines. Now, teacher may have told you differently, but when we kind of look at your resume, we know the objective, right? It's to get a job. And then also your resume kind of is the summary of your work. So once again, totally up to preference. I do have some people put like a personal statement. That's kind of their objective. I would just say, you know, that's kind of why you have your cover letter to go with your resume. Now we're gonna watch this one. Okay, so with that one, we'll talk a little bit more about formatting. I'm gonna go ahead and play the next one. Okay, so I'll talk about those videos real quick. A few more, hold on. I had a hard time narrowing down which one this. Okay, and I will send y'all the copy of this presentation so you can click on the links and see what the examples were. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay, and one more. Okay, so yeah, I did a really great job spacing out all those videos, I know. Anyway, so I just want to talk about those real quick. So once again, definitely it's important to have clear formatting, easy to read. As a recruiter, I really want to be able to read your resume, glance over it, and know, if I can move you to the next round. Also, simple things, I would save your resume as a PDF, not as Word, because if I have one version of Word and you have a different one, it may not translate. Save it, don't save it as my resume. Please don't. First name, last name, first name, something with your name on it, resume. Just little things like that. But one of the things when it comes to writing a resume is you want to really have impact in there. So obviously y'all are the accounting students, right? So numbers. So I want to know what you did, why you did, how you did it. But if you can show the impact you made, so if you were a campus ambassador, if you could put numbers in there, how many tours did you lead? How many students did you interact with? Someone give me an example of something they have on their resume. No? Okay, that's no problem. Make sure you have hard and soft skills put in there. And then also it's very important that you have action verbs. So I'm pulling this, of course, from UGA, and I'll send you all this presentation. But if you look here, you can look financial. Look at all of these strong action verbs that you can use. We don't want to do helping with or assisted with when we can use much stronger verbs. Leadership management. See, these are just a lot of great, see all the great adjectives that you can use. And of course, you want to try to mix it up, not use the same conducted, 20-something times. Okay. And then also don't write the job task or the job description. Just put the impact of what you did. Don't use so much fluff. Like I'll get to that in a second. But you just want to tailor your resume to what the employer wants. No paragraphs, make it easy to skim. And definitely when I say don't put fluff in it, I'd rather have a shorter resume that's good material. We know you're probably not going to have a lot on there because you are a new grad. So just make sure it's quality over quantity. So I'd much rather it be a 1-paragraph cover letter than 3 pages just repeating itself. And then also be thinking about what you've done in any jobs or student activities that there's transferable skills. So recruiting people for healthcare, I've had so many say, well, I worked in food or I worked in retail. That has nothing to do with healthcare. But you can still say you gave good customer service, right? Or maybe you dealt with some transactions of some kind. So there's something that you can take from it. So if you worked in retail and you were their bookkeeper or their salesperson, you can still figure out how to describe that in ways that will transfer the skill. And I thought it was really cool, the word cloud video that we watched, where she put the resume into the word cloud and then she put the description into the word cloud. So I've never done that before, but I do say that when you're applying for a job, that's part of the tailoring your resume to what employers want, is read the job description and see what key words, what key skills they are wanting. And it's not plagiarism to take, what's from the job description and then plug it into your cover letter or resume, because honestly, depending on what company you're applying for, I'm glad at Phoebe, I look at a resume with my eyes, but in terms of some bigger companies, they actually have a computer that processes your resume. So they're going to be skimming that resume. It's going to be AI technology scanning it for certain words, certain phrases, Excel, certain programs, whatever you want to call it. So you just want to make sure that you do have those transferable skills in there.
Madison, what's the F or E pattern?
Yeah, so hold on one second. I think that is one of these videos coming up.
Oh.
Don't worry, y'all. It's only 3 more. I just couldn't pick the best ones. Hold on. And I didn't want y'all to have to listen to me talk the entire hour. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So that was just, I will come back to that a little bit more. I think one of the next ones is the live video. Um, Okay, so in terms of that one, I mean, that was simple enough, the F and E pattern, but y'all aren't applying to be graphic designers or anything like that, so it doesn't have to be real fancy, but you still want it to just be easy to read left to right. You can do 1 or 2 columns, but typically 1 column all the way across. You just don't want it to be where my eye is jumping so many places trying to look at your resume. And then we're going to do one more. Still play. Okay. Okay, so real quick, real simple, but just talking about that, I wanted to see the color coding of how you can put those strong action verbs in, you can put those impact skills. But if I could have only just shown y'all one video, it would have been the XYZ one. I thought that was a really great way to describe it, because when I describe it, when you're listing something like a job and you have the bullets underneath and you're listing what you did or whatever, I want to be able to read it, and or as you're writing it, I want you to think, so what? Why did this matter? So when I worked at ABAC and I worked in admissions, okay, I answered phone calls. I gave campus tours. And obviously, what was the point? To increase enrollment numbers. I gave tours of the housing facilities in hopes of getting more people to live on campus. So you kind of need to put the why. So tell us what you did, why it matters, how you did it. So I pulled this from my personal resume. So before I worked at Phoebe, I worked at a little peanut company for peanut season. So managed customer accounts for over a dozen farmers, contributing 6,000 tons of peanuts to Georgia's economy. So that kind of tells you what I did and the impact that it had in the economy. I'm scrolling down a little bit. When I was at UGA, I see I have double bullets there, assisted in management of social media platforms for the college and extension, totaling over 22,000 followers. Now, I know you're not always going to know what the numbers are, okay, because you're not going to have the analytics or whatever, but you can still, I mean, it doesn't have to be numbers. It can be planned. I mean, look at the last 2 I have. It's just talking, look at those strong verbs: coordinated, planned, created, executed, things of that nature. And I will have to say, not every bullet point has to be this great bullet point. I mean, if you talk to people on the phone, I mean, kind of tell me why you did, but you don't have to make it this big fluff piece. But definitely for each job, if you can have, or each activity or club, if you can have 1 or 2 bullets that at least have one strong, really action that you did in it. Okay? And then how many of y'all have written cover letters? Anybody? Okay. I hated writing cover letters. I honestly think they just need to go away. That's my personal opinion. But cover letter, the purpose is to interest your employer to read your resume. And I suggest your resume can be pretty standard. You can tailor it, but I think a standard resume is fine. But cover letter, this is where you kind of distinguish yourself. And so focus on what you can offer the employer rather than what you can gain for working for their organization. So this is kind of your elevator pitch, selling them. I got this from online, their need, but your experience. So let them know that you have something that you know something about their organization. So this is where, if you're interested in a company, I would go to their company website and pull up their vision, and I was about to combine vision and mission and what they value, and maybe they have some like corporate social responsibility that they do or something like that, or maybe you have a personal connection to that company. That's where I would add that into your cover letter, just to give that. And so this is just anatomy of a cover letter, contact info, address it to the right person. When in doubt, just always put to human resources or to the person in charge of hiring, to the recruitment team. But when possible, if you know who is going to be reading your cover letter, like Dr. Gill or whoever, make sure you address it to that person. Yeah, and so then just have a statement of purpose in there. And then I would, once again, you don't want this to be too long. Okay, so I'm pulling from my past jobs because I applied to so many. How many of y'all know Chicken Salad Chick, the restaurant? Okay, so people would say mine's kind of cheesy, but if you knew me, this fits me. But I talk about why I want to work for Chicken Salad Chick, and I kind of incorporate the branding of Chicken Salad Chick. It's Southern, sophisticated, unique. So then I kind of go into, I like brand storytelling strategy. I graduated with a master's, and I believe my education and work experience with food and restaurant branding, in addition to my work ethic, make me a qualified candidate. So that to me is just your really big sell that you want to give. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the interview part of what you do before, during, and after the interview. So how many of y'all have ever been in at least an interview of some kind? Yeah, okay, I'm sure we all have. So one, just do your research on the company or organization prior to, so you can know a little bit about them. I know y'all are having a career fair next month. And so I would say, if you know in advance who all the companies are that are going to be there, definitely do your research to know, okay, which companies do I want to talk to and things of that nature. And then also reflect on yourself as a person, what you've done, extracurriculars, school-wise, job-wise, and just kind of be thinking, if I were to ask you, why should we hire you? You'd be able to tell me in 30 seconds why you're the right candidate. Or think about those just common questions. Tell me a time when you had to work with a difficult coworker, or tell me a time that you really had to take over a group project and everyone else was kind of slacking off. So kind of be thinking of those specific questions. I don't like those questions, like where do you see yourself in 5 years and things like that, but I can't say, think of it as, what are your career goals? Things of that nature. I know another question is like, what's a weakness of yours or a strength, or, just things like that. And we can talk about this later if we want to do some mock questions. Make sure you make eye contact. This is the time to talk about yourself, okay? So if there's any time to brag about yourself, there is a good way to do it, but it would be now. So this is where, don't sell yourself short and just talk about yourself. And it's okay to take time to pause and think before you answer. Don't feel like a pause is a bad thing. If you need to think a moment and then answer the question, that's totally fine too. And then definitely recommend, if you get their business card or whatever after the interview, or if it's a virtual interview, that you send them a thank you note or email. Sometimes I think it's best to send an email just because that's a lot quicker. So I definitely recommend doing that. Okay, so I love LinkedIn, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So I basically say it's professional Facebook, right? And so you can network with your professors, your peers, your old employers, and maybe potential future employers. I think LinkedIn's great because you can search for jobs on LinkedIn. So just like Indeed and Glassdoor, it's another avenue to look for jobs. As a recruiter, I use this platform, and I think now, or I know now, you can have the little hashtag like open to work. And so I have a special version of LinkedIn. So if I search by that hashtag, I can see everyone who's open to work, and I can filter it out by their skills and education level and their area. And then I think it's fun. I kind of try to share stuff like my Facebook about Phoebe on LinkedIn, because I want people to be able to see like our work culture and our company culture and just what we're doing kind of for fun as we work. You can join interest groups, you can join alumni groups. It's just a really great networking platform. It kind of helps you build your brand. I love going to people's LinkedIn so I can just have a really quick almost like visual look at their resume because it's a snapshot of who you are. And also, if you have a LinkedIn, for the most part, if we were to Google your name, typically LinkedIn is what pops up first. And there is a way that you can edit your LinkedIn profile to give you like a specific link. So mine's like linkedin.com/Thornhill. So I can put it on my resume and it not be something, you know, like this long. So you can definitely customize that. Okay, and then here's just some simple things, but cross your T's and dot your I's. Clean up your social media. I know it's common sense. This is my kind of common sense page, but I know it's common sense, but you know what? You'd be surprised. And it's more than just what you post. It's also what you're tagged in and stuff like that. And even if you think your accounts are locked or private, there are still companies that can kind of third-party vendors that can look beyond those settings. Also, we tell people have a professional email. If you're still using your email from middle school, I can only imagine how terrible that is, okay? So have it be something, your name, a few numbers, I don't care, but at the same time, don't let it be just some random, y'all can imagine what some of the bad emails are. And then also make sure you're checking your voicemails, your emails, things like that. So I know I don't like to answer my phone unless I recognize the number. But since starting at Phoebe, I've had to kind of answer it a little bit more because I've given out my phone number. But that being said, if you applied somewhere and you know it's out of this area code, just be conscientious of that. Like, oh, I applied somewhere and it's 404. So 404 is calling me, I probably should answer. Just simple things. Maybe even create an email just for the jobs that you're applying for. That way it's not getting mixed in with junk and other things. But just make sure, I would hate for someone to miss a job opportunity because they didn't get the email to go to the next step. And then just keep a record of when you applied and when you expect to hear back from them. So depending on what the job is, after you apply, they may tell you, please give us 2 to 3 weeks, or we'll be in touch in a few days if you made the next round. So just kind of be keeping up with a list of when you've applied and when you expect to hear back from them. Okay, and I'm just ending on this little note. I know y'all are going to do great writing y'all's resumes. So I just wanted to open it up now and see if anyone had questions of any kind about resumes, interviews, cover letters. That being said, we'd love to have you look into jobs at Phoebe, careers.phoebehelp.com. So we are actually hiring 2 coordinators in our HR department. So if you want to work with me, you can do that. And then we also have a lot of just different positions within our business office. And we'll be back next month and I'll have more people from the business side at the career fair when we come back in April. But yeah, so I'm just going to open the floor up for questions. Yeah.
I wanted to ask just a moment about the objectives. I totally agree with you. I don't like them either.
Yeah.
But do you see that there's a spot sometimes with, like, I'm thinking about some of my traditional students who are totally doing a pivot. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a student now whose background is that he was a mechanic and now he wants to be an accountant. So his
Yeah.
experience is mechanic. Do you think that sometimes an objective like that is helpful? I mean, in certain
Yeah.
situations,
I think
just like, let's think of a different way.
I think in that case it would be, because I also agree, for me personally, I had so many different like student worker jobs that were kind of all over the place, and it wasn't, I could see just a total outsider if they skimmed my resume in 5 seconds. Like you're saying, it'd be like mechanic.
Did you apply on purpose?
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to say, like,
right.
I really am interested in Phoebe.
Right. I had a truck driver one time who applied for a medical assistant, and like medical assistant was like written one time, truck driver everywhere else. So in that case, I think it would be relevant. I think it would be appropriate is the right word, I should say. I think that would be appropriate. I don't think it's bad to do like a summary of skills if you want to put on there like a skill list and list out things. But like one of the videos we saw, don't put I'm a good communicator, okay? Kind of be a little bit more specific than that. And if you can use the software systems you've used, Excel, Adobe, anything like that, the more specific you can be on those tools and softwares, especially if that's listed in the job description, the better. But yes, in that case, I think that would be appropriate. And once again, this is where I say resumes are so subjective because there's no right or wrong way to do it. And I really just think after a while, after you've done resumes so many times, you'll just kind of you'll know what to do. Okay. Someone else ask a question.
What do you think about listing class projects on a resume?
Yeah. So I think there is, I think that could be also appropriate. I think it depends on what it is. If you did a campaign for a client or something like that, I think you could do a special section that's projects. I think that'd be totally fine. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm like 1 year out of high school,
Okay.
I'm a junior, so I'm applying to junior internships.
Okay.
Would it be time to ditch, the high school and high school GPA, high
Yeah.
school clubs?
Yeah.
Later?
I would ditch it at this point, because at this point we know you're about to graduate college. Yeah, I would ditch that unless it was something like really, I don't know, like some award you got that was just really awesome or something like that. But I think at this point, now we're focusing on the next step, which is graduating college and putting that. Yeah, good question. Does anyone have any other questions? Yes.
For like different classes, I hear different things about should you include references or not.
Yeah.
In there. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah. So you can always put on your resume like references available upon request, but I kind of feel like you don't have to, because if they're going to want a reference, they're going to ask you for references. And so sometimes when you're applying to a job and you're uploading all the files, if it gives you like a spot for resume, cover letter, and then like other documents, I would just do a list of references right there. And that's another good question. When I was talking to some students a few weeks ago, think about who you want as a reference. I would think of at least 3 people or so, maybe a professor, an old boss, a mentor, someone who can really speak on your behalf, but also make sure they know that something's probably coming, a phone call, an email. At Phoebe, because we have so many applicants, we use a third party that sends them a survey and they fill it out. But just, you don't want your reference to be kind of blindsided, by like, oh, I didn't realize they were sending out this reference checker. So just call them, tell them you've applied, that you'd love for them to do a reference for you. But yeah. Okay. Come on, y'all, give me another question.
Can you talk just one more time about your advice, about what you said about quality over quantity? So
Yeah.
let's picture a student who, for whatever reason, goes to class and that's all they have so
Yeah.
think about the student that really doesn't have a lot of extracurriculars or has never worked.
Yeah.
What do you suggest there?
So that being said, don't be afraid of the white space. I would rather it be truly what you did than a ton of fluff. And as you could tell on some of those videos, like, yeah, you can always make things sound better, but if all you did was go to class, that's fine. Just talk about, you were a student and list the things you did as a student or projects or things like that. But I think for the most part, you can have an education section, and then maybe you don't have a big work history. But at this point, you're going to be applying for those entry-level roles. So I think that's to be expected. I wouldn't want you to draw out. This is where I see the resumes that are 2 or 3 pages, and I'm like, okay, why is it 2 or 3 pages when I could have made this a page, or you could have summarized this a lot more? So in that case, don't be afraid. Look, you have your whole career to add to that page or add to that CV. So don't be afraid to have some white space on there. I don't think you'll be penalized or look like you haven't done a lot, especially because, it'd be one thing if I were talking to like older professionals, but y'all are college age, so it should be fine. Okay. Now, see, if my boss was with me, this is where he'd start asking people, putting them on the spot and asking them mock interview questions. So,
That's a good idea.
do y'all want to do that?
Maybe to hear some interviews.
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely think you need to know, like if I were to say, why should we select you? You'd be able to tell me within 30 seconds, why should we should select you to be this candidate? Why are you the best candidate? Also, another good thing, if you start the interview with, tell me about yourself, please, please don't tell me your whole life story, okay? We have had some who are like sitting there 10 minutes telling me from the time they were born to, whatever, current day. So please just make it a minute or so. I don't know, you can say, see, here I am thinking about nurses because I recruit nurses. Maybe they say why they got into nursing, why they're passionate about it, things of that nature. I'm a so-and-so student at this school. I want to be in nursing. I want to be a labor and delivery nurse, that type of thing. So I would just say you want to give good answers and you want to have quality answers and be specific, but at the same time, we don't want to be so long-winded. The other day I was in an interview and someone else was interviewing with me. And by the time the girl got done answering the question, I couldn't remember which one of us had asked the question. So that's not good because we were like going back and forth with the questions. So I was like, I can't remember who asked the question because it took her 10 minutes to answer. But that being said, just try to be concise with those. Yeah. Okay. So someone throw out, what do y'all think would be good questions? Okay. I brought my mama with me because we're gonna go shopping and eat later. Anyway, she was a business professor and stuff too, so I'm sure she's loving this. Definitely. So I've had some people ask me, they don't like the question, well, what if they ask for your strengths and weaknesses? Like, no one wants to really give a weakness, right? Like what you're bad at or what you need help with. But if someone were to ask you, like, well, what's a weakness of yours? Take whatever it is and turn it into, well, it's this, but I'm improving on it. Don't kind of just give it, oh, I'm terrible at coming to work on time or something like that. You can always say, well, I'm not the best at being punctual, but I have learned to adapt through college that if I have to get up earlier, that's what I do to make it on time. So something like that. Okay, that's another good question.
Okay, let's get down to talk.
Okay, Mama, thank you.
Well, as far as the weaknesses goes, one
Yeah.
thing that I've always heard is that you throw out a weakness that really
Yeah.
can be interpreted as a strength.
Right.
So you can say, like, I have a lot of attention to detail to where I really want everything to balance and I persist until it actually does.
Right.
So that sometimes can be interpreted as a weakness in that you're spending a lot of time, but
Mhm.
it's really a strength in accounting.
Yeah,
to have
definitely.
attention to detail. So.
Definitely. But you don't want to be so obsessed to detail that you can't turn in a project
That's
because
right.
you can't let go of it.
Mhm.
So like with me, like writing and things like that, you don't want to be editing something 20,000 times over. At some point you have to let it go. That's another thing we've had is people say they get so attached to their patients or their clients and things like that, which does show compassion and empathy and things of that nature, but you do kind of need that work-life balance. So for sure. So that's another thing. So yeah. So what companies are y'all applying to, or what jobs are y'all looking into? Anybody? Just throw some stuff out there. Yeah.
Well, right now I do work at Phoebe Sumter as
Okay.
an accounting intern, but I'm
Okay.
looking in the future to actually apply to an actual accounting firm.
Yeah.
Possibly in Albany.
That's awesome. That's great. Awesome. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, yeah.
I previously internship at Middle Flint Behavioral Healthcare Center
Okay.
as an admin.
Okay.
So I'm planning on returning.
Okay. Awesome. So do any of y'all plan to go get your master's degree, or what's the plan? Okay, get your master's?
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you think you're gonna get your master's
I
at?
don't know yet. I was
Okay.
thinking Georgia Southern though, because I
Okay.
want to be a CFE, like a
Okay.
certified fraud examiner.
Yeah.
So I want to get that certificate.
That's cool. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So are you gonna try to work some, or do you think you're going to
Well,
start
I
the
get my
master's?
master's,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Okay.
work on
Awesome.
it.
That's awesome.
So kind of interesting, some people have applied at CPA firms where they,
Okay.
at the bigger firms, you go in when you go in for the interview, you've already been screened like for
Mhm.
2 stages. It might be a half a day or 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
And they go and talk to different people about, they
Yeah.
go from one office to another.
Yeah.
The interview process at Phoebe is not that long, is it?
No, it depends on what the role is. For business students, you would probably just talk directly to that direct manager, maybe a few colleagues. So it might be 2 or 3 interviews, or it really depends on their schedule. They might just do a big team interview and put it all together. and things of that nature. But yeah, I would expect a typical interview to be about an hour. And then also there is a chance they may want you to come back and shadow and just see what they do for a few hours. So there is an opportunity to shadow as well, just to make sure that you're a good fit.
Would you guys be likely to give a test, like here's some numbers, do something to them and reconcile them?
You said yes?
Yes.
I got a small test that was like, which of these is an asset, which of these is like simple, like how do you balance the accounting equation, just simple.
Is that
Okay.
pretty simple? Okay.
Yeah. Well, good. I did not know the answer to that for the business side. So yeah, that's great. So yeah, I would definitely say just bring your A game, be prepared for anything that they might throw at you in the interview for sure.
Can you talk a minute about the end of the interview where the interviewer typically says, okay, now what questions do you have for us?
Yeah.
What do you want to hear?
So I feel like some people kind of force those questions at the end. Like, don't feel like if you have no questions, don't feel like you have to pull a question out of thin air. But maybe while you're interviewing, whether you're taking notes or just thinking in your head about something you want to ask later at the end, save it for the end, or take this as an opportunity. I feel like we often at Phoebe say, is there anything else you want to tell us that we didn't mention, or something you'd like to add to now that we've kind of talked a few more minutes? But definitely if you have questions, I don't think it's a good idea to discuss salary in that first conversation. So kind of wait for that to be later. That's kind of a delicate topic, and we can talk about that. But definitely in terms of questions at the end, always a good question is just, what are the next steps? Like, okay, thank you for interviewing. What are the next steps in this process? That's always a good question to ask, just because they're probably going to tell you anyway. Expectations of, hey, you'll hear back from us, whether it's yes, no, maybe, within so many days, such a time frame.
Madison, would you say that you're really looking for people who really want to work at Phoebe?
Yes.
And who convince you in the interview that they really do want to work at
Yeah.
Phoebe? And who smile a lot and, you know, act really interested, that kind of thing?
They're not just looking for a job, they want to work at Phoebe.
Yeah,
Right?
so for sure. So definitely one of the things, I mean, I said earlier, I come from Tifton and travel to Albany for work. So that being said, I love Phoebe because we are a big regional hospital for our area. We're one of the larger hospitals in our area. Obviously, we have the Americas location as well. But that being said, yeah, you don't want a job, right? You want a career. And so that's what I love about Phoebe, is that we do have a career ladder, and that, yeah, we're in Southwest Georgia, right? But it's a big enough organization that you really can progress. And we have a lot of people who have started, this is a business example, but we had someone who was an EC tech, who was part of the cleaning staff, worked his way up to a nurse assistant. Now he's in nursing school. So obviously that wouldn't be the same for business. I'm sure y'all want to start out in whatever role you're at and then maybe become a supervisor, become a manager, or become a director, or things like that. But yeah, definitely at Phoebe, we want to make sure that you're a good fit wherever that place may be. But obviously, I think Phoebe is a great place. Yes, I recruit a lot of the health field areas and things like that, but you also got to remember it is a business as well. I mean, I'm not clinical, okay? I'm not a nurse. So we definitely need communicators. We need business people. It takes a lot to make a hospital run, and I had no idea how much it takes to make a hospital run, and I've been at Phoebe for like a year now. So it takes a lot for it to be great. But yeah, we would love to have y'all at Phoebe. And I have my business card with me, and I'd be glad to pass it out. I have my cell on it. I don't care if you text or call me. If you want to send me a resume, I'd be glad to look at it, glance over it. Once again, I look at them all day anyway, so I'd be glad to look over yours or read your cover letter and give you advice for sure. All right. Does anyone have any other questions? Yeah.
How necessary is confidence in an interview?
Yeah. So I think confidence is very important, but I think there's a difference between being confident and being cocky, right? So, but yeah, I think you need to go in assured of yourself, but just not overly, I don't know, I can't really think of the right words to do it, but you just don't want to overdo it. And then that being said, that's another good question that kind of leads into dress nice for the interview. You don't have to necessarily, have the nicest outfit in the world, but as long as it's clean and pressed and you're presentable And, you know, kind of the saying, you want to wear the outfit, not the outfit wear you. So you don't want anything like super big earrings or something like super distracting. But that being said, I think you just need to go in and be yourself, because not only are they interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them. You want to see, do I think this person would be a good boss, or do I think this would be a good team to work for? So it's just as much a two-way interview. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I got, unless y'all have any other questions. So take a
Well,
minute, think
thank
about
you
it.
so much for
You're
coming. We
welcome.
really do
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Of course. Thanks for having me. And I hope to see y'all all next month at the career fair. Thanks.